Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tempcast, episode number 4. Today I'm joined by Eric
Hey guys, glad to be back.
and also special guest Steven,
Hey guys, how's it going?
and they call me the AlanJohn. Tonight we're starting off real big with a really big announcement. Nintendo prematurely ended their Mario 35th anniversary and started their Zelda 35th anniversary as well with a major game announcement, a new game in the Legend of Zelda series, and it's actually in canon. Probably, hopefully. It's called Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Guys, have you heard of this?
I have.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be fun. I don't know if I agree that it's going to be canon, but it does look pretty good to me.
I mean, it's pretty definitively canon in the Breath of the Wild timeline, though, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's kind of the whole thing. It takes place 100 years before Breath of the Wild started.
Okay, I just ate my words. There you go. I know that the the earlier Hyrule Warriors game isn't considered canon, but yeah, that's pretty cool. That said, Zelda canon is kind of all over the place anyway. But anyway, it does look like a good game.
Has anybody played any Hyrule Warriors or Dynasty Warriors games before? Anybody?
I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't played. I guess I played a little bit of the first Hyrule Warriors, and I played a little bit of Dynasty Warriors, but I played a lot of One Piece Pirate Warriors 2 and 3. They all kind of play about the same. It's sort of mindless, fun, repetitive gameplay where you just kill or defeat just hordes and hordes of enemies with really strong characters. But it's a good way to sort of vent your frustration at the world by killing a bunch and so many things. It's so great. So, but it's not very deep gameplay, but it's fun.
Steven, I know you played Breath of the Wild, so could you please explain to us what the Calamity was, what it is, but not like in detail to spoil it for us, because maybe one day we're gonna get Switches and finish that game. So could you please like briefly explain what Calamity is and why it's important?
Yeah, so this game, Age of Calamity, is going to take place about 100 years before Breath of the Wild does, and it'll show this Calamity Ganon, this big catastrophic event that essentially destroyed the world and cast these four big separate societies that made up Hyrule in this universe to the winds. And we'll show Zelda, Link, and the four leaders of those societies trying to fight Ganon in the original battle that, you kind of know from Breath of the Wild that he ends up winning. But it really suits the Warriors gameplay style, because like Eric said, you're fighting giant swarms of enemies and, just taking out hundreds or thousands of people at a time. So it fits the scale of this giant cataclysmic world-ending event, which I think is really cool. I think is pretty interesting. And the thing that I like about it is where Breath of the Wild has such a unique tone and setting for the Zelda series, like it's one of the only ones that feels very defined and separate from everything else. I like that this sub-series is kind of getting a little bit of expansion. It's getting a little bit more of a solid timeline, because like Eric was saying, the Zelda timeline is usually kind of all over the place. There's not really a lot of strict continuity there. And apparently Koei Tecmo has been working really closely with the core Zelda team on this one to maintain the tone, to keep the, just to get dialogue and certain aspects of the world right. So I think that's really interesting. I think it's cool just to see them kind of lock down and try to create a more solid world than Zelda usually has for this.
Yeah, it's definitely really interesting how Nintendo basically gave the keys to one of their biggest franchises, like the key to its lore, to its IP, to a third-party developer, and basically said, okay, you guys can work with us to make like a game that's basically in canon, and it's gonna be like a prequel to Breath of the Wild, and the sequel to Breath of the Wild is gonna come soon. So very soon, like Breath of the Wild is gonna be an entire trilogy of Zelda games. And now I might be wrong about this, but I think this is the first time, like in Zelda history, that there are 3 games, soon to be 3 games, that take place in the same universe, I guess, or
No, I think
timeline.
that's wrong.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So there's three different timelines, right?
Oh God.
Yeah, right. I'm just gonna be really quick about this. Everything started with Skyward Sword followed by Minish Cap, and then Ocarina of Time. And in Ocarina of Time, there were basically two endings. One where Link goes back to the past, and one where it was where the timeline that he left. And that created two splits. And then Nintendo said, you know what? We're going to create a third alternate reality split where Link lost to Ganon. So now you have three timelines, right? The child timeline, adult timeline, and failure timeline. So basically, all of the, not all, but most of the like 2D and old games, they fall in the failure timeline. Then you have the kid timeline, which turns into, I believe, Twilight Princess, Four Swords Adventure, and a couple others. And then you have the adult timeline, which is Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks. So Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, and Wind Waker, those like cartoony ones, those are kind of a trilogy, even though it's two different
Oh yeah,
links.
yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And then the link from A Link to the Past, I believe, is the same one as Oracle of Ages and Seasons, and also I think the same one is the one from Link's Awakening. I think that's all the same guy. He's my favorite Link. Um, but yeah, and then there's also the connection between Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. I know I said I'd keep this short, but I
No,
didn't.
keep going.
Um, so yeah, there's a couple different links around a lot of different games, but this is sort of, I guess, the first time where it's like clearly a trilogy of one link, where you have Breath of the Wild, and then you have the prequel, which will be Age of Calamity, and then you'll have the sequel, which is Breath of the Wild 2, where it's very clear it's all one story. Similar to Wind Waker, but that was two different links. There you go.
And they're also a lot more united on one system here. They're all going to be available on the Wii U, whereas the Wind Waker one was GameCube, and then the other two are on DS, I think, right? I was going to say, what you were saying about how it all starts with Skyward Sword into Ocarina of Time, a lot of that is unofficial, right? That's like fan speculation and fan.
Nope. Yeah, Hyrule Historia came out more than a couple years ago that clarified that there were three timelines. Before that, it was speculated that there were two, and I was sort of on that train of there were two timelines. But then Nintendo said that I disagree. I don't like the fact that there's three. I think that there should have only been two, but officially there is three. The problem I have with the third one is that it's sort of like the downfall timeline is like speculation, like what if? Like, what if Link lost to Ganon in Ocarina of Time? That's where all of my favorite games go. And I'm like, that's not fair. So, but that's how it
That's
is.
kind of fun, though. It's a little dark. Does Breath of the Wild factor into any of that, or I guess that hadn't been around
That
yet?
hasn't been around. I think that they threw it in somewhere officially, but I don't know for sure. I think there's another theory that eventually all three of the timelines come together and that because Breath of the Wild has elements from the Wind Waker universe and from the Twilight Princess universe and from the A Link to the Past universe. So it sort of links them all together.
I think it has elements of Ocarina of Time as well, because I remember a few locations almost look like dilapidated versions of things you'd see in Ocarina of Time's Hyrule.
Yeah, but that was also back when the timelines were all united anyway. Yeah, but I'm
Right,
just
right.
saying it takes elements from everything. So a theory is that it just takes place so long in the future that somehow all of the timelines come together. In fact, I sort of have a headcanon where the original Hyrule Warriors kind of brought them all together, but that's not been very fleshed out.
Wait, wait,
Yeah.
wait one sec. I'll just ask one question. You don't have to answer it, but I've never played Skyward Sword, but I've played Ocarina of Time. And you're trying to tell me that Skyward Sword takes place before Ocarina of Time. And Ocarina of Time literally starts with Link waking up in the Kokiri village
Different link.
as like an 11-year-old child who's never even held a sword before. But you're trying to tell me that before that, Skyward Sword, the entire game, happened.
Yes. I'm telling you that it was a different Link in a different Zelda and a different Ganon. Oh no, same Ganon. Same Ganon. Wait, oh no, Ganon wasn't even in Skyward Sword. Yeah, okay, so Skyward Sword, it had Link and Zelda, and it had, I'm not going to spoil it, but a big bad. Later on, that big bad will be reincarnated as Ganon, and Link and Zelda will also both be reincarnated. So it's sort of like a lot of these games have different Links, different Zeldas, usually the same Ganon, but it's just reincarnations. So yeah, Skyward Sword took place hundreds and possibly thousands of years prior to Ocarina of Time.
Wait. So is Link like the Avatar? Like he can get reincarnated? What?
Pretty much, yeah. They don't even have to be like related by blood or anything. Sometimes they are, but not always.
Yeah, that's why establishing a Zelda timeline has always seemed kind of weird to me, because so much of it seems to be based around this idea of history repeating itself and the main players always being reincarnated, that they might as well all be separate timelines. They might as well all just be variations on the same story.
Yeah, I'm not an expert at Breath of the Wild, but I mean, I've played all the other ones, and it's sort of like you always need somebody to have the Triforce of courage, power, and wisdom. And Ganon almost always has the Triforce of power. A character, like Link, will usually have the Triforce of courage, and Zelda will have the one of wisdom. So, yeah, it's sort of like reincarnation. I don't know if it's direct reincarnation. You definitely don't retain the memories of your older self, but yeah, that's what happened.
That's interesting. I did not know that part about the Zelda lore. I knew about the different timelines, but I was under the assumption that was like the same Link, but I did not know about reincarnation Link. That's actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's almost a shame that they don't play with that aspect of it more, though, because all the Links, they end up being very similar. Whereas, like, the only one I can think of that plays any different at all is Wind Waker Link, where he's kind of like a doofus. He's like, I wish they played more with reincarnating Link as a different type of person rather than the same completely stoic, stony-faced hero type. Whereas, like I said, in Wind Waker, you get this like kind of goofy kid who's like a little slow and like very sincere and silly and stuff, right? Like, I don't know. It seems like if you have a reincarnation baked into it, there should be more opportunity to play with different types of heroes there.
If we're only counting the canon games, I think that I can count 10 different Links,
Wow.
but maybe I'm missing one. Yeah.
Jeez.
So, and that's assuming that one of them was in 5 different games.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Earlier on, I joked about Nintendo starting Zelda's 35th anniversary a little bit earlier this year, but obviously that was a joke. But guys, what do you think Nintendo is planning for Zelda's 35th? Like, we've already seen what they had in store for Mario. They released the 3D All-Stars collection. We talked about this on the previous episode. But what about Zelda? What do you guys think, before I get into my speculation, what's going to happen next year with Nintendo? What do you guys think Nintendo's got in plan for Zelda?
I think, first of all, it'll probably be an anniversary celebration that takes place over like 6 months again. I think they'll probably do weird timed exclusive stuff again for no reason. Like, this will probably stretch from September of next year into like March, just because I think they can get away with it. People seem to be half accepting of what's going on with Mario. As for what they're going to do specifically, I don't know, honestly. Like, it's not the same situation where they can just port all the 3D Zeldas to Switch or something, because so many of them have already been remastered, right? They already did Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Twilight Princess ports or remakes. So I think the only one they haven't really done is Skyward Sword, right? Which, as I understand it, isn't one of the more popular ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know that they have a ton of tools left at their disposal for Zelda. I know people, like, there were long rumors of Zelda Maker type thing, which they kind of ended up doing in the Link's Awakening remake, but
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, it could work, but it's complicated. It would be hard to get that done. I mean, yeah, I don't know. They might just do a collection of, like I said, the main 3D Zeldas that they've already done remakes of, but that wouldn't be nearly as exciting as this All-Stars one, because they've already been remade and remastered before, right?
Yeah, if you recall though, back on the GameCube, there was a Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition, which had Zelda 1 and 2, and I think it also had Ocarina of Time and Master Quest, and also Majora's Mask.
Right.
So that was 4 different games, so they might do something similar.
That's true.
Though you're right, I doubt that they're gonna remake Ocarina of Time again for the Switch. So maybe they'll do 1, 2, A Link to the Past, and I don't know, the Oracle games.
Yeah, maybe do some of the 2D ones in the Link's Awakening style, maybe?
That could be.
Would work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to see them do something with Zelda too, because that's kind of the black sheep of that franchise, right? Like, that's a 2D side-scrolling action game rather than the top-down view, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Surprisingly, it's one of my favorite Zelda games, even though everybody hates it. But I got those weird opinions. Yeah, but it's definitely much different.
Listen, if you like Zelda side scrollers, have you heard of the Philips CDI?
Yeah.
I heard that had like 2 good really good masterpiece type of games.
That's what I want to see next year. The Legend of Zelda CD All Stars.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, because when you mentioned that it's weird that Nintendo is passing the reins over to someone else, I'm like, it's not the first time.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, you're right.
yeah,
I guess that makes it even weirder because it didn't work out the first time. So
yeah. I actually played Wand of Gamelon and shoot, I already forgot what the other one was called. Faces of Evil. Yeah, I played both of those, and you know what? I played them on an emulator, to be fair.
Ah,
Um, I enjoyed them. I don't have a Philips CDI.
you're not getting the authentic experience.
this is the guy who said last week he's not into piracy.
Well, this was when I was into piracy.
People change.
This was probably 10 years ago. I actually did a Let's Play, and it got pretty popular until Game Grumps did it, and then sort of kicked me off of the YouTube algorithm. But yeah, so it was pretty fun. I love those games. They're the best Zelda games.
Yeah, well, thank you for your opinion, Eric, about Zelda. I'm sure all the Zelda fans listening to this would agree with you, with Zelda 2 and Wand of Gamelon and Faces of Evil being the real trilogy of Zelda games that everybody should play.
Yeah, so let's do a breakdown. First, I say that I don't like the Zelda timeline. Then I say that my favorite is Zelda 2, as well as the CDI games. Then I say I've played all of them except for Breath of the Wild, so they'll appreciate that. I started this off by saying that I don't think the new Hyrule Warriors game was going to be canon, and then I was immediately shut down by that. So, um, yeah,
Resident Zelda expert.
yeah, I'm the resident Zelda expert. That's funny because yeah,
You are. I've only played Breath of the Wild and Ocarina of Time. I don't know
yeah.
about AlanJohn, but he didn't seem to know about the timeline or anything, so I think you are a Zelda expert.
I bet. Then also, I said that there were 10 different links. I'm waiting for somebody to come and say, "Oh, actually, there were 11."
Getting back to the Zelda 35th speculation, here's what I think. They're definitely going to release the links, Link to the Past, I think, on the virtual console, if
I
that's
thought
what
you
it's
were going to
called.
say Link's crossbow training. I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that one. That's the big release.
Oh yeah.
What else? So I don't think they're gonna make another like Link's Awakening remake just yet, because what other types of 2D Legend of Zelda games would they be able to port other than Link's Awakening? There's Minish Cap, Four Swords. They might do Four Swords.
Four Swords would be good.
There's also
Yeah, they're big on the local co-op with the Switch lately. And as we mentioned last week, that the Four Swords on DSi or 3DS is completely lost to time. So that might be a good candidate for a port.
Yeah, just make it like 2 weeks exclusive, like they did on the on the DSi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aren't those like? Didn't you have to buy all the different copies, all the different versions?
it's not like Pokemon, the two Pokemon games. It's Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons are completely different games, but you can play them in either order, and there's sort of a secret ending if you play both. So there are benefits to having both, but it's not like exclusive Pokemon for each one. There's different regions. They take place in completely different
Timelines.
land. No, same timeline, but
Okay.
different lands.
Different
Yeah.
links?
Same link.
Okay.
They're both the same link as the link from A Link to the Past, and the same one as the link from Link's Awakening, I believe, and the same one as the old man from A Link Between Worlds, I believe. I know that you appreciate all of this information, by the way.
I really do. Like, I really needed this, especially right now in my life where I'm doing a complete Zelda
I
playthrough.
can't wait until we get to Kingdom Hearts 35th anniversary so you can explain that whole timeline to
God.
us.
Oh, I will. I will explain Kingdom Hearts.
So basically, you start with the card game that came out on the GBA,
No, you
right?
idiot! You play that second. God, pay attention.
No, we're not doing this. We're
What's
not
the
doing
machete
this.
order for Kingdom
Stop
Hearts?
this discussion.
Oh, get out of here. Release order or bust.
Sorry, AlanJohn keeps trying to get us back on track.
Guys, I've got like insane theories for Zelda 35th, all right? I've got two theories. First theory, Nintendo does a proper Zelda 35th. They're going to release Wind Waker on the Switch. They're going to release, what's it called, Twilight Princess on the Switch. You know, because those were already ported to the Wii U. Like, they've got the source code, they can easily port it. They're just waiting for a good occasion and like a good date to make it. I don't know, let's say through a 3 month exclusive, let's say, or maybe like 2, or maybe like 3 days. You've got 3 days to download Twilight Princess.
It'll probably be alternating days, like Wind Waker's up for one day, then it goes down, Twilight Princess goes up, and then vice versa
Yep.
for like maybe like 2-3 weeks.
Well, that makes perfect sense, really. Just Nintendo, they're masterminds.
I would like to see them release those though, because I don't like anything being stranded on the Wii U. Like, I don't think it's enough to make a full anniversary celebration out of, but it would be a nice little bonus. Kind of like 3D World is kind of a nice little bonus for the Mario 35th anniversary.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. But you guys notice something weird that Nintendo announced a Zelda game out of the blue, and it's not even the 35th anniversary yet? I've got a theory about that. Now, they either did it because they don't want this release to be overshadowed by all the other Zelda releases they've got planned. Like, maybe there is like a new 2D Zelda. Maybe, who knows, maybe next year we're gonna actually see Breath of the Wild 2, maybe like a holiday 2021 release, who knows. But what if this year, I mean next year, Nintendo isn't actually gonna do anything major for Zelda 35th? Okay? Listen to me, listen. Because I don't know if you kids remember, 5 years ago, there was the exact same situation. We had Nintendo and its 30th anniversary of Zelda. Coincidentally, it was the 30th anniversary of what other franchise? Do any of you know?
Metroid.
Yes. Yes. And what did Nintendo do for the 30th anniversary of Metroid?
Metroid Prime Federation Force, probably.
Was that actually at the 30th anniversary?
No, it was probably a couple years before.
What was it? It was like a Rocket League knockoff or something. At least shown first as that. But
I don't even remember now.
I don't think anybody played it.
yeah, but I remember that the ending to that game actually tied in somehow to the Prime trilogy, I think, or Prime
Oh, really?
Hunters. Yeah, like I'm not even joking. Like you have to save Samus in the final part of that game, I think.
It's canon. You're
Yeah,
not
it
going to
is.
understand Prime 4 unless you played it.
Yeah, it's another Kingdom Hearts situation, you know. Oh no, I shouldn't have said that. Okay.
There's no such thing as a Kingdom Hearts spin-off game because they're all canon. Except for, yeah, no, they're all canon. There you go.
So what I'm saying is that, you know, we all know that Metroid 4, Metroid Prime 4, like Metroid 4 came out decades ago. Metroid Prime 4 is in development.
Decades.
Yeah. So it's in development right now. They just got a new executive producer, I think, or they're looking for one. So it's going to start development real soon. I'm sure of it. It's definitely not in development hell at Retro Studios. But what I'm saying, Metroid Prime Trilogy hasn't been released yet on Switch. I don't think it was even released for the Wii U in HD.
No.
So they probably will start off the year with Metroid 35th anniversary. They're going to apologize to everyone for Federation Force and for their neglect of Metroid 5 years ago.
By announcing a Prime Pinball re-release.
I heard good things about that game, actually. I heard like legitimately good things, that it's really underrated and it's actually a really good pinball game. There was actually speculation, but there were rumors about the studio that made the Samus Returns remake. I mean, Metroid 2 remake. That it was called Samus Returns on the 3DS. I should play that now that I have a 3DS, actually. That they were actually working on Metroid 5. Because for those who don't know, the most recent game, canonically speaking, in the Metroid lore is Metroid Fusion, a game that was released for the Game Boy Advance. Yes, that long ago.
2003, I think.
Yeah, it's not Prime 3. It's not Other M. Oh my god, I forgot about Other M. Yeah, I think Nintendo is gonna release Metroid Prime 4 next year. It's already done practically. I mean, they're just doing finishing touches by getting a new lead executive producer on it, and release all the Metroid games, not just the Prime trilogy. They're going to remaster Zero Mission, Metroid 1 again in HD, Metroid 2, Metroid 3. Wait, what's Metroid 3?
Is that Fusion?
No, I thought that Fusion was 4.
I'm not sure.
Oh my god, how do I not know this? All right, anybody listening to this podcast, please correct me because I'm too lazy to Google it right now while recording. So, yeah, look that up, and yeah, they're gonna apologize. Satoru Iwata or
Super Metroid. We're fucking stupid. That was the third one.
Super Metroid.
Oh my god, cut that out.
That's the best one, I think.
Yeah, we're dumb.
A lot of people say, but yeah, they need to re-release Super Metroid.
Oh my god, they do.
Make a remake, please. Give it HD. I don't know what they do. Remaster it, please. It's such a great game. That's a game that I can call like a 10. It's flawless, really.
I haven't played it, unfortunately.
Oh, you should. Does anybody else have any opinions on my Metroid 35th anniversary?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I like the idea because I would like to see Metroid get more love, but I don't know. It's hard to wonder if go that far in on celebrating Metroid when they seem so reticent to do anything else for it. I could see them doing like the not Virtual Console, but the Nintendo Switch Online re-releases of some of those games if they're not already on there. But I don't know. I don't know if I see the rest of it. I don't know. I mean, they did do Samus Returns recently, and I think that did well for them on the 3DS. I don't know. Maybe they would do a Super Metroid or something. I don't think we're going to see Prime 4 next year. I would like to see it. I think there's more there to work with than there is with Zelda right now, so it would make sense.
Yeah, well, I'm a big Metroid fan personally, but only of the 2D Metroids because I've never gotten the chance or the opportunity to play any of the 3D ones. I've heard great things about the Prime trilogy, but I was under the assumption that you needed a Wii to play it because of the motion controls, but now I hear that they actually don't. It emulates quite perfectly on PC, so I might check that out after I get a legitimate copy of the Metroid Prime trilogy from Nintendo, and only then, after ripping the ROM legally onto my computer and emulating it, that's how I'm gonna enjoy the Metroid Prime experience. Okay, thank you, Nintendo.
The first two were originally for GameCube, weren't they? So.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so they weren't even designed with motion controls or pointer controls in mind.
And I heard really good things about Other M, and I heard people telling me, "Oh, you should start with that one. That one's the best." So.
Play in release order.
I heard really, really good things about Federation Force.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I lied. I have played a 3D Metroid, and it was Prime Hunters for the Nintendo DS. And wow, that game, when it came out for the Nintendo DS in 2006, was it?
I'm not sure.
2005?
I still got my Metroid Wikipedia page up. I can check for you.
Yeah, check it out, because
2006.
2006. Okay, not that ahead of its time, but still pretty ahead of its time. You gotta remember, the Nintendo DS was the first gaming console, I think, with Wi-Fi. I don't think the first PSP had Wi-Fi. I might be wrong. So, and Metroid Prime Hunters was a game that had online multiplayer. That was a first-person shooter with online multiplayer, and I played that game a lot. You could choose different hunters, and I remember playing deathmatch with the hunter whose morph ball could climb on walls. And what I did was I basically being the I am, I just crawled up into a wall, into a corner, and just waited until there was one guy left, and then I just sniped him out of somewhere. That game was so fun. You're playing it on a 3D on a DS, not even a 3DS, like a DS, and controlling your first-person view with touchscreen. And that game was amazing. really. And that's all I have to say. Have any of you guys been playing any games recently?
Yeah, I actually have been playing two different games. Funny enough, they're both time-related games. I'm studying for the bar exam, so I don't have a whole lot of time to play a lot right now, but I played A Hat in Time recently for the first time. So that was really fun. And then more recently, I was playing actually Samurai Jack Battle Through Time. I'm gonna have a review of that up on the website pretty soon.
Ooh.
I just completed it a couple days ago. Both of them are really fun. I'm gonna recommend both of them, although I'm sure a lot of people have already played A Hat in Time. But yeah, the Samurai Jack game is pretty fun too. It reminds me a lot of the sort of older God of War games, surprisingly enough, in the way that, the game is played. But yeah, that's really all I've been playing lately. What about you, Steven?
I've been playing that Tony Hawk Pro Skater remaster or remake on PS4, which is, as everyone else has been saying, fucking excellent. That game is, they didn't change anything really, like it's exactly how you remember it, but it's really, really good right from the get-go. I think it has a few new challenges added in, and they let you revert in the early games, because I don't think you could in the very first ones, which just makes the whole thing a lot, like, faster and more fluid and smooth for, connecting combos and stuff like that. But really, it's pretty much how you remember these games playing back in the day, and it's a lot of fun. I really can't recommend those games enough. If you have any connection to those games from your youth, or if you like those kind of like fast-paced action games, just like comboing, high score, addictive arcade type of gameplay, that stuff is really, really good.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. That's probably going to be towards the top of my list of things to play as soon as I'm done with this stupid exam in October. So I'm excited for it.
Hopefully in October.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I think what's really surprised me about Tony Hawk is it as, I mean, I guess I knew this in kind of an abstract way, but not having played him in so long, I'm surprised how much it epitomizes the like angry skate punk culture of the 90s, to the point where like if this came out today, it would almost feel like a parody. Like everything in it is, all the music is very like kind of angry, aggressive punk music, except for like the odd ska song like Superman. And like everything in it is just, you go to one of the levels is a school and you have to destroy all the bells, or you go to a downtown area and you have to destroy signs that say no skating. You go to another part of the city and you have to destroy like the sirens on cop cars. Like it's all very anti-authority stuff, and I don't know, there's something that I find really funny about it, that's such a stereotype for skaters, and this game just completely embraces it and has fun with it. That's been
Yeah,
really interesting too.
it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
Is it out for PC yet?
Epic Game Store is exclusive. I'm not sure if it's a timed exclusive or if it's stuck on there permanently, but it is out on PC.
I always wanted to get into more Tony Hawk games because the only one I've played was on PC. It was American Wasteland. It was a very interesting experience for me because that port on PC stinks. It's really poop. I don't know else to explain it. You just can't port those controls onto keyboard and mouse, and this was before I had a proper controller, so I had to use the numpad to control like my skateboard. It's not fun. It's not. It's but it's
That
fun.
sounds awful, honestly.
It's still fun because it's Tony Hawk American Wasteland. Like that's a really good game. It really is, and it's fun. Like you do all these manuals, all these tricks. You hit Ben Affleck in the face with your skateboard.
Nice.
There's actually, yeah, that's actually part of the game. I didn't make that up. It was an awesome game. So, I hope after they do this, they do Underground, Tony Hawk's Underground. After that, they get American Wasteland because, you know, that game, I'd love to see that game in HD. I tried to play it recently through a PlayStation 2 emulator. It was fine, but like I want to get the new experience. I want to see Ben Affleck in 4K, you know what I mean?
When I hit Batman right in the face. Yeah, I don't know. I think those games aren't as beloved as the original ones, just because like the original one, it's such a pure experience. It's basically, like I said, it's all arcade action. It's just you go in for 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes to either hunt down the collectibles they've scattered around, or just grind together as many combos as you can. And I know the later ones, they did stuff where like you could get off your board and run around, and like you had to talk to people, and there was almost a little bit of a storyline, which is interesting. And I like those games too. I played a lot of Underground, but I just love how simple this one is. Like,
Oh wait, so this one doesn't have like a campaign?
Nope. So it's the first two games. I think the first one has 9 parks, and the second one has 8, I believe, something like that. And it's just you jump in, and they have a list of objectives for each one. So it's usually like a bronze, silver, and gold high score for you to hit, a high combo score for you to hit, and then a bunch of collectibles. So like say one of them, like I said, one of the objectives will be destroy all the no skating signs. Another one will be, grind all these cop cars or cafeteria tables at school, or destroy all the school bells, stuff like that, right?
Maybe they'll remake the other ones on the Tony Hawk 25th anniversary.
Hopefully.
Because I think the first one came out in 99, so what, 21 years ago? Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, something like that. I think it's smart too, the way, because like I said, there's collectibles to find, which does kind of slow down the arcadey style stuff. But even then, you still need to do tricks and grinds and everything to build up speed to be able to reach these collectibles. So it never feels like you're fighting the game on how to do these things, right? Like it almost feels antithetical to stop and look around for stuff a little bit, but then to actually get it, you've got to get back into the groove of skating. It's a really clever design. I like it a lot.
Interesting.
Nice. So what games have you been playing, AlanJohn?
Well, while you guys are playing cool new modern games, I'm still stuck in 2014 with my backlog. So I started recently playing Shovel Knight for the 3DS. It was actually ported to the 3DS, and I honestly did not know that. But in retrospect, Shovel Knight on the 3DS is actually a genius idea. Whoever made that port, he or she deserves a medal of $10 million in cash and whatever else, because it's almost like this game was developed for the 3DS. Because of the 3DS's resolution on the screen, it's not an HD screen. It doesn't have a high pixel density. So it's the Shovel Knight's art style fits perfectly pixel to pixel to the screen, and it looks so sharp, so nice. It probably looks the best on the 3DS just because of that, because it's pixel to pixel. Props to that. Also, the 3D effect, it actually helps a lot, because Shovel Knight, while it's a beautiful like 8 or 16-bit game, it has some segments where I'm confused. Like, I don't know if that's the foreground. I don't know if that's the background. But the 3D, like, legitimately helps. Like, helps you understand, like, oh, this is the foreground. Oh, this is the background. And it's not super aggressive 3D. So you could, like, legit play this game in 3D for a long time and not get any headaches. So I love it for that.
I didn't know it had a 3D effect. That's really interesting to do that on an 8-bit game.
It really works surprisingly well. It really does. Like the way it's basically just 2 layers. It's the foreground and the background, and they're disconnected. And there's like imagine like a quarter of an inch distance between the foreground and the background while looking at the screen.
That is an issue with a lot of those old 8-bit games, is distinguishing the foreground from the background. So using 3D for that is actually really smart. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, I also played Shovel Knight for the 3DS. That was what got me to love it. And I really love 8-bit indie games. I know that that's sort of like obnoxious thing to say, but I do like them. So Shovel Knight was one of those things that I loved it so much on the 3DS. I got it on the PS4, played it then too. So it's just a fun game in general. But I totally agree. It's almost a masterpiece on the 3DS, and I would, if you could only buy it on one console, I would probably go for the 3DS version of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. So everybody, check out Shovel Knight for the 3DS before the eShop closes permanently. Just buy it. Like, I don't know, they deserve all the money.
It had a physical release.
Did it?
Yeah, that was before the other campaigns came out, so I don't think they've done another one since then with the whole like treasure trove thing, but I believe it launched with a physical release.
Okay, that's cool. Speaking of eShop exclusives, another game that I played on the 3DS, I'm currently playing through it, is a game that's called Rhythm Heaven Paradise in the US, but no, wait, it's not called that. It's called Rhythm Heaven Mega Minx. No, not Mega Minx. Mega Mix. It's not a
Mega Minx. It's a furry game.
No. There's like a Mega Minx. It's called. It's a puzzle. It's a tetrahedron, octatetrahedron, whatever.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Anyways, Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix. It's called that in the U.S., but in the EU, like I couldn't find it anywhere on the eShop. Because where is it? Where's Rhythm Heaven? I heard of this game. No, it's called Rhythm Paradise. in the EU for some reason.
I didn't know we were still doing that this late. Like, I know that game's a few years old at this point, but I thought globalized releases and titles were kind of a thing now.
Yeah, like Heaven. What's bad with Heaven? Like, why can't it be just Rhythm Heaven? Anyway, it doesn't matter. The game is great. I love it so much. The previous Rhythm Heaven game that I played was on the DS, and I absolutely love that. And this game, I think it has all of the games, all the way back from the GBA version up to the Wii version. It's got everything in it, and it's so much fun. I love it so much because it actually gives you cues on the lower screen, on the touch screen, if you're dragging or if you're what's the opposite of dragging?
You should explain what it is. You kind of jumped into it. It's a rhythm game, right? It's a very silly, almost WarioWare-esque kind of rhythm game, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a very simple, like deceivingly simple, I'd say, rhythm-based game where basically you could either press one button or just tap on the screen in rhythm in key, and there's like a mini game. There's like you have to fill up these robots with gasoline, and you have to do it in time. Otherwise, they either don't get enough gasoline or get too much gasoline and they break.
Yeah.
It's something like that. There's one where you karate chop things in time, in sync as they're being thrown at you. So it's a really fun game. It's filled with like these tens of mini games. It's so much fun, really, and it's a game that you keep wanting to get back to get that perfect score. Like, I missed this one time, or this one time I didn't miss, but it wasn't perfectly on time.
It's addictive, yeah.
It's really addictive.
I played the Wii one, and it's like those WarioWare micro games. Like maybe they're a little bit longer than that, but they're not very long games. But they have that really weird manic energy that those ones do, where it's just really these bizarre, strange scenarios and setups. I think one of the ones I remember from the Wii one is fruit is rolling down a set of stairs, and you have to tap in time with it when it hits the stairs, but they'll throw different fruits. So say like an apple comes down, that'll bounce very quickly, and then a watermelon will come down, and that bounces very slowly, and so you have to switch up your timing for that. And if you get it wrong, like, I don't know, the fruit will burst on the stairs, or it's got this very like high energy cartoony style to it.
Yeah, I just finished that mini game recently. Anyways, yeah, check out Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix or Rhythm Paradise Mega Mix if you're in the EU. And yeah,
And if you like rhythm games, just wait till November and you get to play the greatest rhythm game of all time that hasn't even been released yet, called Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memories, MOM for short.
is that gonna be coming out on the new next generation Xbox Series X and Series S consoles?
As a matter of fact, I believe it is.
That's great. We should talk about that. So earlier in the week on Twitter, the Xbox Series S in its full glory was accidentally leaked. And Microsoft was supposed to announce it next week, and they just said, fuck it, and released everything, all the information you need, not only about the Series S, which is this smaller, less powerful, and cheaper version of the Series X. They also announced the pricing and the pricing of the Series X. So the Series S is going to start at $299, and the big boy, the flagship console, the Series X, is starting at $499. They also, along this, released like a short video describing what the Series S is. Guys, have you seen that video?
I have.
I saw most of it. Yeah.
What do you guys think of Microsoft, like, with this aggressive pricing for like a next generation console, be it like a less powerful version of their flagship console? It's still a next generation console. What do you guys think that Microsoft was forced to price it at $299 because of, PlayStation 5 looming above them?
All I have to say is balls in your court now, Sony, because I think that having two options, one at $299 and one at $499, which is really, let's just be blunt, $300 and $500. It's going to be $300. I'm not going to bet anything, but I doubt that Sony's going to release even their discless version for $300. I don't know. It just seems like a great value to me, especially for people who don't want to build their own PC. But even at those who do, you'll sort of be hard pressed to build a PC for $300 that'll, you know, have everything that the Series S is going to have. Watch,
Absolutely.
I am totally wrong and people are going to yell at me, but it just seems that this is actually for price versus uh, quality. I think that this is a great deal. And I'm like not somebody who is always crazy about Microsoft consoles, Xboxes, but I think that this is definitely a step in the right direction, personally.
They are playing extremely aggressively after failing so hard with the Xbox One. I remember my biggest thought while I was watching that video that laid out some of those tech specs is that like it's almost hard to get excited about it because it feels like there's a catch and I just don't know what it is yet because it almost seems too good to be true what they're offering for $300. Like
Well, there is like a very big obvious catch. It's no disk drive. Like that might not seem that much, but it really is if you think about how big the used game market is for home consoles.
yeah,
And basically not going to be applicable here, so you're not going to get cheap used games for it. It's only Microsoft Store.
yeah, you're right. That is fair, yeah. In particular with the audience that this is aimed at, the more casual audience, that is a bigger impact than, more hardcore people that probably aren't as opposed to buying digital or buying full priced games.
Yeah, I sort of for PS4, I'm mostly digital, but I do also buy physical copies, whenever it's more affordable to buy a physical copy. But the thing is, let's say the PS5, I don't know what the prices are. Maybe it'll be announced, who knows, maybe even later today. But the difference between going discless and having the disc is not worth the $200. Let me rephrase that. The Xbox Series S if is $200 cheaper than the Series X. And if you care mostly about the fact that the X will have a disk drive, I don't think the disk drive is worth 200 extra dollars. It might be worth an extra 50, might be worth an extra 100, but if that's what you care about, I would go with the S personally. I don't think that having the disk drive and having the cheaper games would be worth the extra $200 if that's the only thing that you're concerned about.
Well, it's not just that. They said while the CPU is going to be the same as the Series X and at the same clock speed, they're going to have a little bit of a weaker GPU in it that's more optimized for 1440p 60 FPS, and it can go up to 120 FPS, which basically means since they didn't use 1440p and 120 FPS in the same sentence, it means like it probably games at 1440p 60 FPS and very likely 1080p 120 probably, and it's probably going to be only in side scroller games. I don't, even though they did show Gears 5 running at 120. I don't know at what resolution that was, 'cause it was a video, it was compressed. It didn't look 1440p to me, certainly not 4K. I don't even know if it can output 4K, but
It said it could upscale to 4K.
okay, but it's not like DLSS upscaling. Unfortunately, they don't have that technology yet. They might implement it in like a patch or something. Definitely possible, but here's what I want to ask you guys. The difference between 1440p and 4K. Do you feel like people are going to be wanting to pay $200 more for the 4K experience that supposedly the Series X is going to provide? Like, do you think there are that many enthusiasts, 4K enthusiasts in the market right now?
Not really, no. Honestly, especially I could see maybe more so frame rate being a bigger draw than resolution, but I don't think the 4K thing is gonna pull in too many people, honestly, no.
I think I agree. It'll pull in some for sure, but that'll also the kind of crowd that would be willing to spend the extra $200 are also likely to spend even more and get a PC. You know what I mean? I think that, well, I don't know. I don't know if more people are going to get the S or the X. I think that the S looks like a great value to me, and it's the first time that I'm actually considering, getting an Xbox console.
I was just about to say that, like, It's amazing how much of a 180-degree turn I've made on Xbox in the past couple of days because if you asked me if what I would be getting, I'd definitely be PS5. Like, are you kidding me? What am I gonna get an Xbox for Halo? No, get out of here. I don't care. But $300 for a home console that can play at 1440p, 60 FPS, and it's gonna have games that are properly optimized for it because it's a home console. Like my computer, it can't do 1440p, 60 FPS anymore, and it cost around $1,500 back when I bought it, and now you can get better performance for $300. And I know there are going to be PC Master Race boys, listening to this podcast, and they're going to argue like, oh, you can definitely like build a computer that's gonna play 4K games at $300. No, no, you cannot build a PC with Xbox Series S performance for $300. You can't. I think it has a 512 gigabyte SSD.
It's an NVMe, isn't it? It's not just an SSD, I believe, right?
I'll be honest, I haven't seen like real life performance differences between SATA and NVMe like concerning gaming. But then again, they might like for finally game developers can actually properly optimize for SSD gaming.
I've heard that NVMe it's a good bit of future proofing. Like we're not necessarily at a point yet where those differences between SATA and SSD or NVMe are super obvious, but we will get there in the next few years probably. So I think it's interesting that they went with that. I think that's a really good bit of future proofing.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point about that. So what I'm saying is that basically the Xbox Series S is definitely something that Microsoft is selling at a loss. They're definitely planning to recoup on that loss by getting people into Game Pass. They might offer like 3 months of Game Pass with the Series S, so that would be cool. So Microsoft really surprised me. Basically, I did not expect that.
So I just looked it up. The Series S will have 500 gigabytes. The Series X will have 1 terabyte, which makes sense.
Are they upgradable?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually just about what I was gonna get to. I was confusing it. There's a leak that suggests that the 1 terabyte upgradable hard drive for the S will be $220, which is a lot. I mean, it's all things considered, it's not terrible, but given the fact that it's nearly the same cost as the console, that is a lot. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. Let's say it's November. You are a American mother with two children going to Walmart and you're shopping for the best console for the best available price. So you see the PS5 digital only, and it says like on the box, you can play this, you can play 4K games with this thing, and it's got Demon Souls probably. But you're just an American mother. You're looking at the numbers. You see 4K, you know that that's like the biggest thing right now. You see the price. Let's say that the PlayStation 5 digital will be, let's speculate, $400. All right, seems reasonable. Like it's just a disc. It's not. It's gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same GPU, same CPU. It's just not gonna have a disc. Okay, so you see that for $400, and you see the Xbox Series S comes with 3 free months of Game Pass. Let's speculate. Like, and it also costs $300. What will this average American mother buy for her children? What do you guys think?
I think it would be the Series S, honestly. I think not only like it's cheaper right off the bat, which is usually the main thing people are going to be looking at, but I think Game Pass is such a good deal that just being able to pay for a subscription rather than having to go out and buy brand new games is kind of unbeatable. If you're, someone buying for a child or something like that, right?
Yeah, I probably agree with that. I think Game Pass is a great value now. They're adding more to it. Just, it seems like every couple days we get, oh, more things are going to go on Game Pass. So I think
EA
that
Play is going to be a part of it soon, isn't it?
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, which is
exactly,
unreal.
yeah. And everybody loves EA games, right? So uh, Sony is they're gonna have to step up their game. They're gonna have to, PlayStation Plus is already kind of a not a great value, and then yeah, they're gonna have to play ball. And I think that Microsoft is killing it right now.
Yeah, I don't know what Sony would be doing right now. They're probably panicking at least a little bit.
I think we're going to see, I don't know, it feels like we're always stuck in this cycle with these consoles where, like, the PS2 was the big winner in its generation, and then the Xbox 360 came out, and, well, the PS3 was arrogant and stupid. It launched for, was it $600 or $700, I think? And that let
It was the cheapest Blu-ray player at the time, but it was still a hard sell.
Yeah, it was $600. So the 360 won that generation, and then that led to Xbox or Microsoft getting arrogant, and they had their whole fiasco with the Xbox One. And Sony looked great right off the bat, and they were able to swoop in and undercut and win this generation. And now the new one is starting, and Xbox is being more aggressive and fighting, and Sony is in probably still a little bit of their arrogant position where you're right, I don't think the digital one is going to be anywhere near the price of the one of the Series S. It's going to be a lot more. And I don't know, I feel like we're just going to constantly jump back and forth between these two companies forever as long as it's only the two of them. Like I feel like whatever the next generation is after the Series S and PS5 is going to be Sony's going to look great and Microsoft is going to be arrogant and on top again, and it just feels like a cycle we're always stuck in.
Yeah, there's also the fact that the form factor that you have to think about. The Series S is tiny. It's like it's less than three Xbox controllers stacked on top of each other,
Yeah.
whereas the PS5 is just going to be a behemoth. Even
Yeah.
the discless version is going to be a giant. So I'm probably going to get the PS5 before I get the Xbox One or the Xbox Series S. That said, I don't know if that's necessarily the best thing for me to do. I don't know. It's Xbox is looking pretty good right now, I gotta say.
They really are.
How insane would it be if PlayStation 5 is announced and it's, let's say, 549?
Then they lose. They lose. If
Yeah.
it's 550, no, they can't do that.
550, but $400 for the discless version.
It's still a hard sell.
So the discless version is $150 less?
It's got half the storage, let's say.
My God, my guy. I don't know. Let's find out. I gotta see the announcement before I think too hard about it. That's just
And also, what I wanted to add about like the Series S, I'm waiting for it to be like available for consumers so that people could actually review it and give like real details about the kind of performance you can. Because I'm still a little bit skeptical about that kind of performance.
It's really hard not to be skeptical. Yeah, it's
Like you're telling me I can 1440p, 60 FPS, $300. You can't even get like a graphics card for $300 that can get that kind of performance.
yeah. No, it's yeah. I mean, Microsoft has been more aggressive with their hardware lately. Like the One X and the PS4 Pro came out around the same time, and the One X blew the PS4 Pro out of the water. So this is just, I mean, I don't know if it did in terms of sales, but in terms of specs and price, it did. But so this is just a continuation of that. But I mean, yeah, the One S as it stands seems, like I said, almost too good to be true. Like I am curious to see what people say about it once it's in their hands.
funny enough. I'm no longer bothered by the Xbox naming convention. Series S versus Series X. I mean, I guess the fact that X and S sound similar, it makes more sense now than having, say, Xbox 3 and Xbox 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think they made a mistake not announcing the two of them simultaneously, honestly. That was an odd move.
I agree. I agree, because they made it seem sort of like, oh, we're just going to call it the Series X, and with no real reason why.
Yeah. Because there were rumors about that not long after the Series X announcement, and so I think some people have been assuming that, but it would have made a lot more sense to get that confirmation right off the bat. What do you think about the fact that they went with the same two letters as the One S and the One X? Because it is, I guess, a nice bit of continuity for that to make sense, but it does also make it really easy to misspeak or get them confused, right? Like,
Yeah, it's gonna be confusing. I think. Okay, so going back to what AlanJohn said, so I'm a American Midwesterner mother of two, and I go in. It's deciding which Xbox to buy. I end up buying the Xbox One S because it's the cheapest
yeah.
one.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're right. That could totally happen. Yeah, their
So
messaging hasn't been great.
Anyways, we need to find a way to end this. Can somebody end this? So what were we talking about?
We're talking about the naming being confusing, and you guys said something about the Wii U, and I'm not sure what Alan John said.
we could cut it off at when I made the thing about the Midwestern mother. We could go from there. Shit.
Okay. Okay. Like, speaking of Midwestern mothers, let's just end it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine.
Speaking of Midwestern mothers.
Okay, bye everyone.